The courtroom buzzed with the usual sounds of shuffling papers and hushed conversations when Marcus Wellington strode in wearing his $5,000 suit. At 32, he had built a reputation as a ruthless corporate lawyer who never lost. His latest case seemed no different. A simple property dispute against an elderly man who refused to sell his small home standing in the way of a massive development project. Across the room sat 78-year-old Thomas Gardner, his weathered hands resting on a worn wooden cane. He wore an old but neatly pressed suit, and on his chest hung several military medals that caught the fluorescent lights. Thomas had lived in his modest house for 50 years, the place where he'd raised his daughter after returning from war, where his late wife had planted roses that still bloomed each spring. But what happened next would leave everyone in that courtroom speechless. If you're enjoying this story, please hit the like button and subscribe to support more inspiring content like this. Marcus smirked when he saw the medals. To him, they were props, a desperate attempt to gain sympathy. As the proceedings began, he wasted no time attacking. "Your Honor," he said with theatrical confidence, "we're here because a stubborn old man refuses to accept a generous offer for his property. My clients have been more than fair, but Mr. Gardner seems to think his sentimental attachment outweighs progress and jobs for this community." Thomas remained quiet, his blue eyes steady but sad. When it was his turn to speak, his voice trembled slightly. "That house is all I have left of my family. My wife and I built a life there. My daughter took her first steps on that porch." Marcus interrupted with a laugh that echoed through the chamber. "Touching story, really. And I see you've worn your costume jewelry today to win hearts. Tell me, Mr. Gardner, did you buy those medals at a surplus store, or are they from your glory days watching war movies?" Several people in the gallery gasped, but Marcus continued, emboldened. "These desperate tactics might work on your neighbors, but this is a court of law, not a sentimentality contest." The judge frowned, preparing to intervene, when the heavy doors at the back of the courtroom swung open. Every head turned as three uniformed figures entered, led by a tall man whose chest displayed more ribbons and medals than seemed possible. The silver stars on his shoulders identified him as a three-star general. The room fell into absolute silence. The general's footsteps echoed as he walked down the aisle, his eyes fixed on Thomas Gardner. When he reached the old man, he stopped and saluted with such precision and respect that it seemed time itself paused. Thomas, tears streaming down his weathered cheeks, slowly rose with his cane and returned the salute. "Sergeant Thomas Gardner." The general's voice filled every corner of the room. "It has been 45 years since we served together, since you saved my life and the lives of 17 other men in the Mekong Delta. I was a young lieutenant then, green and terrified. You carried me 3 miles through enemy territory after our helicopter went down, then went back for the others while under heavy fire." Marcus had gone pale, his expensive pen frozen in his hand. The general turned to face him, and the young lawer actually flinched. "Those medals you just mocked," the general continued, his voice now edged with steel, "include the Silver Star and 2 Purple Hearts. That man you dismissed as a stubborn old fool is one of the bravest soldiers I've ever known. He asked for nothing after the war, no recognition, no special treatment. He just wanted to live quietly with his family. And you dare mock his service?" The judge cleared his throat. "General Morrison, while I appreciate your testimony, I must ask why you're here today." The general smiled, still looking at Thomas. "I read about this case in the paper, Your Honor. I'm here to make an offer. I own 600 acres outside town. I'd like to donate 50 of those acres to this development company, with one condition: Mr. Gardner keeps his home untouched, for as long as he lives." The corporate representatives in the gallery immediately began whispering excitedly. Marcus tried to speak but found no words. Thomas sat down heavily, overwhelmed. The judge banged his gavel. "It seems we have a resolution that serves everyone. Mr. Wellington, do your clients accept?" Marcus could only nod, his earlier arrogance completely evaporated. As the courtroom emptied, Thomas and the general embraced like the brothers in arms they'd always been. Marcus walked out alone, carrying his expensive briefcase but feeling smaller than he'd ever felt in his life. He'd learned something that day that law school never taught. Some things in life, like honor and sacrifice, can never be measured by money or mocked without consequence. And sometimes the past arrives at exactly the right moment to remind us all what truly matters. Before we go, let me ask you something. Have you ever stood up for someone when others dismissed them? Or maybe you know a veteran whose story deserves to be heard. Share your thoughts in the comments below. These stories matter because they remind us to treat everyone with dignity, regardless of how they appear. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs this reminder today. And don't forget to subscribe so we can continue bringing you stories that inspire and restore faith in humanity. Thank you for being here, and remember, respect costs nothing but means everything.